Before we move on to Dr. Spandana Bhaumik's lecture on the digital text, let us get a few basic concepts clarified. If we have to start at the very beginning, we would have to ask ourselves what we mean by a text. We will have to make do with a few functional observations on this, given that generations of scholars have put in great efforts to understand and define the same. Some of these you will find in your reading material. As we commonly understand it, text can mean a string of symbols or characters, which we call letters, organized in a particular fashion, following the rules of spelling, grammar, syntax, and so on. As we understood till fairly recently, text was printed on paper. Sometimes we find text that is printed even on or woven into cloth. Take the case of the Namavali. To look at it from another point of view, a text is material that we study for our coursework in schools and colleges. With the arrival of the digital, this notion of the printed text that exists in tangible form has undergone a popular and widespread revision. On some level, we always knew that the print is only a physical manifestation of something that had metaphysical existence, to borrow a phrase from Professor Shukanta Choudhury's The Metaphysics of Text. What then is the digital text, or rather, what is so digital about the text? Have you seen the logo of Sony's recent line of laptops, Vaio? Do you know why it is remarkable? Let us try and dig a little deeper into the differences between the digital and the analog. To put it simply, a reductionist answer to the question would be that analog is continuous, wave-like. Think of the line that you draw on your notebook. Think of a sound wave that reaches you from the approaching train, or indeed, think of time itself. In order to mechanize things, in order to digitize things, we need to break up the continuities of reality as some see it and make it comprehensible to machines. A clock breaks down continuous time into seconds, minutes, hours. A very precise clock can break it down to nanoseconds even. Likewise, when we draw a line on a computer screen, it appears as a continuous line. Now zoom in and see how it gets fragmented into little blocks. These are pixels, the picture elements that a computer understands. When we write text, the computer recognizes it not as words or as sentences. It does not understand these things. It recognizes a string of characters that we are inputting as combinations of ones and zeros, that is, of the binary system. The ones and zeros are basically power on and off. Think of the on-off symbol in a computer, which indicate to a computer what symbol the user is entering. These are then read by the computer and represented as character symbols. The symbols, the A or the Q, do not mean anything to the computer as such. They are glyphs, available in a number of fonts, colors, sizes, and other formatting variants. What the logo of the Sony Vaio line indicates, therefore, is its commitment to both analog and digital. The V and A form one wave, representing the analog, and the I and O represent the digital. There you have the conversion compressed into one tidy logo. In a sense, there is a level of comprehension in the computer even before the letters represented appear on the screen. That is programming language, which the computer understands in a less mediated form. Programming language instructs a computer to perform certain things. In BASIC, which many of us learned in school, if you typed the command print followed by a string contained within inverted commas, the computer would print only the latter. The string of instructions gets ever more complex as we move to higher and higher levels of software. A digital text, therefore, is a series of characters that the computer can recognize. Recognition is the key word here. Once it has been recognized, the computer can perform various kinds of tricks on it. Some of these have been outlined in the Basic Computation Tools lecture. They include search, replace one for the other, collation, autocorrect, and so on. But if a computer cannot recognize a text, it can do precious little with it. If we do not understand a script, we see its symbols as pictures, as designs and shapes. When we do understand it, we can see the significance behind that shape. What kind of characters can a computer not recognize? Suppose you scan a page of text. The scanned image comes only as a series of pixels to the computer, as a picture. This is not a digital text. If the computer is to do anything meaningful with it, it must recognize the characters. There are programs which allow us to do this. To put it simply, these programs create a list of images. There may be several ways in which a letter is printed. It creates these lists and correlates them to the character A, which the computer recognizes. When the software is run, they identify the shapes and represent them in the output as characters. This is called optical character recognition, about which Dr. Bhowmik will tell you more. The question that comes to mind quite naturally is whether a computer can deal with non-Roman scripts. The answer is yes, but in most cases the programs have not yet been as well developed as they have been for the Roman script. A few recent developments have taken place around the Bangla script, for instance, but we are yet to get full access to these. Before we close, it may be worth spending a minute just to toy with the idea of using the second definition of text that we considered earlier. The humanities disciplines have taken a while to recognize non-verbal records, non-textual material as objects of study. Now that they have been recognized as valuable resources, students find themselves analyzing song lyrics, music videos, and movie posters as text, even without bothering to offer a defense. Maybe the phrase digital text can be stretched to include these other forms as well, and leave them open for similar analysis, involving as widespread involvement as verbal texts have inspired. This does not in any way modify the primary definition, of course. At this point, we are better equipped to approach 3 of the lectures in this Digital Cultures module: electronic editions, basic computational tools, and textual data mining and analysis.